All right, it is 5:02, and I am calling to order this regular business meeting of the Newmarket School Board. We'll begin this meeting, as we do all others, with Lila, our student representative, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Lila, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a little bit of a modified agenda this week because we knew that Principal Dalton was going to be with us this evening. We wanted to allow him to make his presentation first off. So Dave, if you would like to either join us or proceed to the mic, whatever works for you, we'll begin. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for putting me up front. I appreciate it. It's helpful. This really shouldn't take long. There's not a lot of new here, but and hopefully you've had a chance to look it over. You have the full copy of the program of studies, as well as a cheat sheet for the new courses that we're looking to add. I can talk to you a little bit about those, sort of what we're trying to do within the program of studies to give kids more access to courses. And then I can give you a little bit of an idea of what we're doing as we get into the scheduling process to start the year, because I'm sure there's some questions about that, and probably some folks out there that could use the reminder and just feel better about what's going on. So all of that is to say, the document kind of speaks for itself. It will be online after, assuming it gets approved tonight. Let's start with the new courses, and I'm not going to go through each one, but I'm just going to say that what we're doing here is we're continuing to have discussions with our departments about, providing varied and interesting offerings to our students. And one of the things that I heard when I started here was that that hadn't necessarily been the case in prior years, that we were short elective opportunities for kids. We had a heavy reliance on VLACs for students. Not because necessarily they found a course that they wanted, but because they really had nothing else to choose from. So I think there's been a movement towards good addition of courses. I think last year was good, and I think this year coming up is better. One of the challenges we have with scheduling that we've spoken about before here is that because we're small, because we have shared staff, and because we have SST, it sort of drives things in the schedule that sometimes make it hard for students to get access to a class in a given period. So one of the ways, we can't fix all of that, obviously. Those things are just real challenges. But one of the things that we can do is especially for semester classes, but even for some of the year-long classes, is offer those on a 2-year cycle. So if a kid doesn't get it 1 year, they might be able to get it the next if they want. And that's about the best we're going to be able to do, I think, in our current situation. Other things down the road that we might consider would be the schedule itself and how that might, help or hinder the same types of choices that kids have to make. But those all come with their own issues as well. So we're not going to attack that right now either. So you can see some of the courses to that end that we're adding. Some of these are sort of need-based courses that we see data that's pointing to the need to do some more learning loss recapturing. We're trying to respond to some remedial needs. So this fundamentals of writing for freshmen, we're seeing some holes with our freshmen. So we want to capture that as much as we can. Students can elect that. Some teachers may be recommending students for those courses. And we'll speak to parents who, may need to know that their students being recommended for it and that we feel really strongly they should be in it, and have those kind of conversations and coaching to get people where they really ought to be and where they need to be. Web development is an expansion of the high school computer programming. Our new teacher that came in with that, we've had for a long time the Tech and Society course is sort of the anchor required course for the tech requirement. Any of the tech courses now will fill that tech requirement. Web development is one where students will get a real life skill for the business world, either for their own businesses or for somebody else's business, for a job opportunity. And it's the coding behind the web development. It's not just making a web page using a basic tool. It's actually learning the coding behind the web page. So we're excited to offer that. Biology department's going to offer zoology. We're looking at some new electives in social studies to alternate with some of the existing electives that some of which are new and some I'm sure have been here longer. Silk Road, Asia from Past to Present. These are all semester courses. Social Studies department is looking at that Cooking with Culture class, and we're thinking that that could be a interdisciplinary course with our consumer science person and the Social Studies department member, assuming, again, that we're able to schedule it. So trying to expand the food offering to be more of an academic kind of course as well. We're looking at scheduling a specific course for freshmen, PE. That would only be freshman sections. There wouldn't be any upperclassmen in those classes. We would ask all freshmen to take that course in 9th grade, which helps from a scheduling perspective. It's a fixed elective. And then all kids, as you know, they have to take 1 full credit of PE to graduate, so they would have to take 1 more course at some point over their high school career, but they'd get the first one out of the way. The next one is Pre-Algebra. Pre-Algebra, I'm told, is not a new course, but I'm just calling it out here because we're adding it back in. It was not in the program of studies this past year. Again, ideally we would want every kid to be entering the high school algebra ready. It's a challenge right now. Part of it has been our curricular programming in math going backwards. We can look at our data, it hasn't been strong, but then you throw the pandemic on top of it, and now we've got some kids who are really struggling to get to that readiness benchmark. So not every kid's gonna be able to push in algebra next year. And so we know we need to add that back in. Some exciting offerings. Nice to talk about a vision of trying to work toward building a really good music program over time. And so, we have 2 young, enthusiastic music teachers right now who are chomping at the bit and waiting for the pandemic to completely be over so that they can sing and bring whole groups of kids together to play their instruments. So we're looking at sort of continuing to pique student interest at this point. I don't know if any of these courses will run next year, but the idea is that we're going to offer them to see what we get for interest. They could replace some of the other music electives that you see in the program of studies if we decided to run them. 2 sort of cornerstones for me in a good music program are jazz ensemble, which we're going to add, and typically those run in the evenings at schools. There'll be like an extra class for kids, but they still get credit for that, as well as the vocal ensembles, any sort of tryout singing group, kids who are interested. And there's any number of ways that can go and what those courses can become over time, or how many groups they can create from that ensemble. But we're excited to sort of give kids that opportunity to start to think about that and sign up. And over time, we'll add what we can and what we can support. Excuse me. Likewise, we thought we would put into the course offerings the AP Music Theory course for some of the serious kids who want that academic challenge. We do have groups of kids who are still driven and they only want to take those courses that are going to help them advance, not just interest-based courses, but that are going to position themselves well for college. And having an AP Music Theory class to complement the music theory class that we offer as a half-credit elective would be a step for some kids. Again, we'd have to have the students to run it. I don't know if we'll get it initially, but if we put it in the program of studies now, we'll hopefully build interest over time to be able to offer that. So that was a whirlwind tour of the new courses. I guess the other thing that I would share with you is just that some of the electives in the program of studies that you see, particularly in social studies, you'll see that we're trying to put them on a 2-year cycle. So you'll see we'll run in 22-23, or it will run in 23-24. So we're trying to identify those up front so that students can plan. right? So I have the opportunity to think, well, I'd like to take this course junior year. I really want to take this one senior year. Oh, wait, it only runs next year. I have to take that one first. So we're helping them to have those discussions about planning carefully what they'd like to take over the next 2 or 3 years. So scheduling-wise, you may have heard that students have been meeting with Chris Bisson and Ms. Callanan in the mornings. We've been meeting during the advisory block, 1 grade each day. So we met with the rising 9th graders on Monday or Tuesday. I forget what day it is now. And then the next day was the rising 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. So everybody's sort of gotten the orientation to the timeline for what's happening. We've asked teachers to make core course recommendations. They were thinking about that and beginning that process this week. We asked them to speak with kids about those placements so that kids were hearing from their teachers the rationale for the placement in terms of course recommendations, in terms of level. We encourage teachers to have conversations with kids who may want to challenge themselves. So we said you may have a kid who's been in a college prep level class and they're doing really well and they'd like to try to move up. Have a conversation. Is that kid ready? What would they need to be able to do to be successful? Where do you see them in that voyage? And then give them the chance. If you come together with a decision that you think it's right, then make that decision with the kid, and let's communicate to the parents, and let's make that happen, give that opportunity. And likewise, if they're not going to be recommended for a level like that, have that conversation too, so the kid knows what they're going to see when they open up IC next week or the week after. We have a meeting scheduled for informational session for the 8th, is that Tuesday, for the rising 9th grade parents when we return. The kids will finish up after that meeting. Parents will be on board so they'll understand how to help their kids make their elective choices and be part of the process. And then they will submit their choices by the end of that week. And that takes us to about March 14th or so. We'll be able to print out, see the requests, and that's when we start the work of figuring out what can run, who do we have to circle back to, who needs to make other decisions, do we have the staffing that we need to offer the full programming, and then we start building the master schedule, and that will run from April through the end of May. So that's what we're looking at.
Dave, thank you for this support. Every year, I'm amazed by the opportunities that these kids have, because I went to a school that was 4 times larger, and we did not have a fraction. We had some things, but we did not have a fraction of these things. So it's great to see people have the opportunity to find things that interest them and that they can be successful at. So thank you.
Well, and it's really a credit to the staff, right? I mean, the staff have these interests. They see the opportunities to sort of pull in the academic skills that we want kids to have, but to wrap it in a package that is interesting to the kids as well. So there's a lot of, the music teachers are ready to roll. Like I had to say, slow down. Like they had probably 10 classes. I'm like, you got too many as it is. Let's focus a little bit here. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of really good ideas. We don't want to get too wide, though. We're still small.
As a former choir kid, I'm excited to see that choirs are coming back more, so a little selfishly.
Well, we're all excited. We're excited to hear them sing and to get those cohorts together, singing loudly and strongly.
Soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
Any questions, anyone?
Dave, would you just walk us through the selection concept on how that works for a lot of the new parents and that have come into the community?
Yeah.
The kids, they get a packet like this?
So what's going to happen is the kids will get a like sort of a cheat sheet. Depends on the grade. So rising 9th graders, they're going to get a list. First, we review the graduation requirements with them. We have to review the levels with them. I remind them that that it's important to start to think about how their selections might lead them to towards some goals, right? Whatever that might be. So if you look in the program of studies, and we're going to work on this for all departments over time, in math, being really clear now that there's pathways in there. If you go to that page, and you'll see at the top, like if you're really looking at like sort of a work-based transition post-high school, maybe community college, it's okay. This is sort of the math track for you. Like this would be okay. But if you're really looking at colleges at different levels, you see we're trying to communicate to them that they really need to work to move as far through that as they can. Because sometimes kids don't figure that out until later, right? And parents too. I think we need to share that information with parents because, it's sort of a, I want to say this the right way, but when you have a really strong college-going culture, that drive happens by itself, and there's lots of opportunity. When it's sort of mixed, and I'd say we're there now. Like we have a sort of a mixed culture around that kids who are really driven and the parents who are knowledgeable, their kids know to push and take those challenging courses. Other kids may be just as capable, but they don't have that sort of knowledge that it's really necessary. So that's the role of guidance, right? So we're expanding that, get that message out. It's the role of teachers. It's the role of administration to keep sending that message. It's the role of parents, right, who, if they're trying to help their kids, and not everybody's as equally equipped to do that, but we sort of all play that role. So we're trying to spend some time and make sure the information is clear so that they can start to think about where they might want to go. And the message that I share with kids around that is always that where you think you want to go today isn't necessarily where you think you're going to want to go later. So the idea is to keep options open as we go through that. So the rising freshman will get their list. It'll have certain things pre-filled. It's all electronic. When they log into IC, they're going to see the courses that their teachers have recommended for them in all the core areas. So if you're a freshman, there's more of those that are defined for you than, say, if you're a junior. So your history is there. Your math is there. Your English is there. Your science is there. Are you going to take a language or not? If so, are you going to take Mandarin or are you going to take Spanish? PE 9 is going to be in there. And then you can choose electives. Not every elective is open to rising freshmen. So we give them a list. Here are the classes that are available to you this year. So you start. Some of those are prereq courses that will open up opportunities for them in their sophomore year. So a lot of electives are 10 through 12. So we try to guide them in that process to show them what's available. They will make those selections during that week we return. So they can have conversations with their parents. Parents can look online at the program of studies. That's where the kids will have it as well. If anybody needs a copy of the program of studies, we will have those available, and we'll let parents know that if they need a copy to go home with their students so that they can look at it at home, they'll have that opportunity as well. And the same thing goes for sophomores, same thing goes for juniors and seniors. If they're SST kids, they have fewer electives that they're taking at the school because they can't fit them. So they're getting credits over at SST. So it's really tailored for each grade level in terms of the information we give them. The mechanism is the choices are made in IC. They're all locked in. They can put extra choices for electives, so they can do preference 1, preference 2, 3, 4. Some of them will list 8, 9, 10. We ask them to list 4, I think. And then we just start the process. So I think that answers your question. I'm sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
No, for the future, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but SST, their board is working on getting math and English in SST so that those kids who plan on going to trade school or really want to focus on SST classes can do some math and English over there. And they're also looking at science, biology being part of that science. It's all still preliminary, but it's fascinating to think because we do waste a lot of time going on the bus back and forth.
Yeah, it's I see why it evolved this way in New Hampshire because of the small communities that make it up. In Massachusetts, kids go to the school, the entire program. So there's a reason that evolved too. It's hard. What's nice though now about this model is that kids who are otherwise taking really challenging courses maybe in our academic program at our high school still get access to some really specialty tech courses. They offer some really nice programs over there, and it's great that all kids sort of have the ability to do that without making a full commitment to be full-time at the school. So it's a nice piece, but it comes with a cost, right? It comes with a cost. So I could see maybe the evolution of some sort of a hybrid where kids can still do that, but there might be kids who spend more time at SST, or maybe full-time even someday, right? I could see that.
Any other questions for Dave?
I would like to make a comment, though, because one of the things that oftentimes when you get in a situation like we're in, where there's gaps in learning, that a lot of the focus goes solely on closing the gaps without attending to the needs of kids that are more advanced and the kids that are in the middle. And one of the things that I know that we've strived to do over the last couple of years is to add classes that address the needs of all kids at all levels, so that it's not just kids that are struggling in some areas. We've added, 5 AP courses, I think, in the last 3 years, which for a school our size is really quite astonishing, that we have the staff and the bandwidth to be able to offer that level.
Yeah.
In a small school, like Dave said, you have only so many teachers. Some of our teachers are teaching 5 entirely different courses just to be able to provide the opportunities. Other teachers are teaching one course multiple times. So when we talk about having prep periods, it's vastly different from somebody that's having to prep for 5 entirely different courses than it is for, and I'm not saying there's no work for multiple courses, because kids are at different places, you have to differentiate and all of that. But it is a very demanding teaching load that our teachers sign up each and every year for. So I have to give a big shout out, to Dave and his staff, and for continuing to update, modify, and look at the needs of all students to provide offerings that will meet everyone's needs. So thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Staff as well.
Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that it really is on the backs of the staff, and especially in a small school, to offer so many classes, which is another reason to do the alternating kinds of courses, because we can't, we want to try to balance that load for teachers so that they can really do a good job and feel as though it's manageable. But yeah, that they deserve all that credit, that hard work, because they want to add more all the time. But then the reality is okay, how do you balance the work? Because each one of those courses is a lot of work.
Can you also just speak for one moment about the work we're doing with curriculum in your school? Because that's also, some amazing progress has been made there. Because that also speaks to, the quality of what we're offering kids. Yeah.
So, you're aware that our professional development time has largely been focused, it's almost entirely been focused on UBD training, writing curriculum, and for our math folks, also the math training blocks that they've been doing as they work to get acclimated and proficient in implementing a new math program. So, that work is really, for some people, it's a review, and it's an opportunity to sort of work and relook at curriculum that they've written in the past and tune it up and put a fresh set of eyes on it and look through a fresh lens. For other people, it's really foundational work. It's really foundational work about what does good curriculum look like? What does it mean to start with the end in mind? What are the big ideas that we're looking to have students walk away with in a particular unit of study? And it's really helping folks, because the other aspect that they've been able to do, which I'm not sure to what extent has been able to happen in recent times, is that they have the time to work within their department or across departments to really strengthen their coursework. So they're able to do it not in a silo, right? They're not sitting by themselves and working on a unit. They're actually able to work with partners, with other people in the departments, and have real conversations about what does it mean when we say that we want kids to be able to do X, Y, or Z? What does that look like? Some really good work and deep work to unpack teaching and learning, and to really have those conversations beyond what our students need to be able to know and be able to do, to how will we determine, how will we know when they know it. And that's the assessment work. And then you get into the whole instructional piece. So we're about an assessment right now in the school year. So that's sort of on my mind right now. But then it moves to, you know, how do you get there? What does that journey look like? So people are they're working really hard to get this curriculum work done. And there's going to be a lot more to do, because to write a really good unit takes a long time. And this process takes us through basically writing a unit. And I know some people are doing 2 or 3 at the same time. And again, we're all in different places, so people who are really proficient, who have really good, solid curriculum that they're working from, they might be able to redo their whole course. But somebody else who's at the beginning of that journey might only get 1 or 2 units done, but still get a lot of capacity from the training going forward.
Who are more proficient at doing the curriculum creation, you can kind of assist some of the other teachers. Maybe bring them up at the same time. And
yeah, I think
share some
especially
knowledge.
within the departments, you know, the core departments, they're working together. They're really good teams. One of the most impressive things since I've been here is that collegiality piece with the staff. At both the junior and senior high school, the teams work really well together. Junior high has a lot of time together because they function as teams, so it's a little bit more organic there. But for the high school people to have time to really work together, this has been a sort of a good year for that, and exceptionally, there's been a lot more time than I think they've been given in the past, and it's producing fruit. You know, there's some good discussions, and what I'm hoping is that some of that work, you know, that it can carry, right? That it's really about capacity building, and that it carries over in future years. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dave, as always, sincere thanks to you and your team for everything that's happening in that building every day. We appreciate things we know about, things we don't know about, and the hard work that everyone's doing to help us move forward. I did notice, Board, that we did not have an action item to approve the program of studies, and I'd like to add that if it's everyone's wish.
Can we do that now?
Yes. I seek a motion to approve the program of studies that we've reviewed tonight.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. McKinney and a second from Mr. Swanson to approve the program of studies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, moving to the next item on the agenda, I will open the floor for public comment. Come on up to the mic and state your name and your address, please.
My name's Steve Moran. I live on 28 Maston Drive, so all you guys have been receiving emails from me. Mr. Dalton, Dr. Gibbons, and the school board. I've tried to remain professional for the most part, forwarding articles that I think are relevant. I've been frustrated at other times. I think we should be here to celebrate today. I'm glad that we're finally at this point. I do sense some hesitancy. I wish that there was better communication. For instance, last night we see the stuff from the governor's office. We're celebrating, we pop our best bottle of champagne. We're super, super excited. Excited telling the kids no more masks, right? You see it on the paper, SAU 16. Right away, we're pleased to comply with this, right? Here I sense hesitancy towards it. And I put away the science and what my beliefs are. I do believe that it comes from the parents, and that decision should have come from the parents, and it should have come a long time ago. But I'm going to celebrate the fact that we're here now, and thank you for putting up with me.
Thanks, Steve. Any other public comment?
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Danielle Honan. I live at 2 Gonnet Drive. $2,722,288.70 is the reason why our children have been masked, social distance, and subject to harm, not based on science or randomized controlled trials, but an unachievable matrix of numbers to give the illusion that one day there may be hope, and thank God there is. I appreciate that you have decided to make masks optional, but given there has already been harm done, how will we move forward? Under the funds of the American Rescue Plan, these harmful mandates, among other stipulations, need to be implemented. In the LEA ARP ESSER plan that the district filled out, you stated that you would be providing mental health support and resources. In an email that I wrote to the district, I asked what was being implemented, and I got no response. As elected officials, it really is frustrating as a parent to get no response from the multiple emails that I've sent. My son has complained about headaches, stomach aches, and being tired all year long. This is my drive. This is where my fire is coming from. These are symptoms of anxiety and lack of oxygen due to mask wearing. He lies about being sick because he hates going to school so much. He's fine during the weekends, and sure enough, Sunday night he starts saying he doesn't feel good and he cannot go to school. Every day is a fight. He is 6 years old. He loved pre-K so much. This is directly related to these unlawful school mandates. He is declining in his mental health every day. He has had minor freakouts, and we've had to keep him home a lot this year. But on Monday, February 14th, on Valentine's Day, he had a full-blown panic attack and was unable to go to school. I emailed you, the school board, and superintendent, and again got nothing. Although, Heather, you did respond, and I appreciated your response. Surprisingly, nobody seemed to be bothered by the fact that a healthy, happy 6-year-old boy had a full-blown panic attack with no prior issues or diagnoses. Off the SAU's website, it states that the business office of SAU 31 builds its work from core values of transparency, collaboration, and care. This has felt far from transparent. Moving forward, I am hesitant to trust that the SAU has our kids' best interests at heart, especially over the funds received in complying to these requirements. As I learn more about how these funds were spent and continue to be spent, I hope the intentions that you continue to convey are in line with our findings. In ED 302.2, one of the substantive duties is to maintain a safe environment for pupils free of hazardous conditions. This was not the case with my son. Creating a safe environment for kids should be the responsibility of the parents and their doctor, not the school. I hope that you continue to do your jobs in accordance with the oaths of office that you took and the New Hampshire Constitution, and leave the medical decisions to the parents where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Seeing no one coming, we will proceed with the agenda. We'll move to reports. We will start with Lila, your student representative report.
Everything is going great in the middle and high school as we're winding up towards our break. The Interact and New Hampshire High School Democrats joint clothing drive was a huge success. We have like 10 plus bags of clothing. I should know they're sitting in my car to be transported this weekend. And then a big congrats to our very own senior Jewel May Ziarez, the New Hampshire 2022 state champion in 1-meter diving.
Excellent.
The girls varsity basketball team will have a game today at 7 in Dairyfield. The boys varsity team will have a game on the 28th at 7 o'clock in Epping. And that's all I have for this week.
And those games are the playoffs, am I correct in that? Or am I wrong?
Yes, they are.
I believe,
I don't believe the
the four
varsity,
quarters
yeah.
with the girls.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
And it's mask optional.
Anything else, Lila? No. Thank you very much. Susan, we'll move on to your superintendent report.
Okay, lots and lots of great news to share. The first one, we've talked a lot about staffing shortages and some of the challenges we've had around busing. As you know, we have 6 buses in our busing contract, but because of the staffing shortages from the bus company, we have only been able to run 5. And that's caused extended arrival and dismissal time at the beginning and at the end of the day. So I had reached out to them and told them, it's really imperative that we get the 6th bus because it's impacting learning for kids. And sometimes the second bus wouldn't arrive, until 15 or 20 minutes after school started in some classes, which was very disruptive. So they've informed us that they have found another driver and that we'll be able to add the 6th bus after the break. So
excellent.
that might sound like something little, and why would you be so excited? But for us, it's been incredibly difficult all year long to, and challenging for kids when they have to be on the bus that long. So so we're really super happy about that. As you know, and others have talked about, when we came back from the break, we were faced with 94 members of our learning community having COVID. We've never seen any numbers like that, and we weren't alone in that. We know that transmission was really high, and we took some actions to try to mitigate the transmission of those the viral spread, and we've had some success with that. And in February, the second week in February, our numbers got down into the single digits, so we were all relieved. And we had talked about, when the numbers come down, we want to make sure that it's a pattern and not an anomaly or a one-time situation before we take any action. But one of the things I think we can all agree is that this has been very frustrating for us, when we get guidance, after the holiday that says, we're changing the requirements for mask and review to make sure everybody's wearing their mask properly so that we can change the quarantine guidelines. And so we go through like good soldiers and communicate this because we want to have kids back, right? If they can come back in 5 days, let's get them back here. So we do that, and then, they change, the guidance without any advance notice after that. So it gets very confusing for everyone, and it takes up an enormous amount of time and creates frustration for everybody. So after this last break, when the numbers came down, for me, and I think we all shared, this is just, we can't do this anymore. This is just not sustainable, and or desirable. I think somebody said tonight, we've been under the impression that we're going through this and implementing these recommendations with the idea that this is going to end. Well, it's not, and so we have to take a different approach. And so that's why a couple of weeks ago I sent out a note, and this is the process we followed to, all along throughout this, that we get a committee together and we start to talk about what is the next step, what is the next chapter, because we can't continue along this way. And that resonated with people because we got, quite a high level of interest in being on that work group. So I'm thrilled about that. That was like hopeful, that people are engaged, they're interested, and they want to come together to have a conversation about what do we need to do here in Newmarket, not everywhere else, based on what our needs are here. So as we have in the past, we sent it, we got some surveys out, we sent them out, and last night we had our first meeting of this work group right here. We were meeting when a lot of this other news was taking place, and having conversation about, what kinds of things makes sense for us. Where are we at? How are people feeling? What kinds of things might we recommend? And knowing that I had the meeting here tonight, we had this very conversation. And one of the things that I don't want to took some air out of our balloon is that we were coming tonight to make a recommendation for optional masking. And when we get out, we learn that I guess other people had the same thing on their mind. So either way, we were going to recommend tonight that we move to optional masking. One of the things we had a rather lengthy conversation about was, our labor shortage. So right now, maybe people don't realize this, but we're operating and have been all year with 25 staff members less than what we need to run our schools. That's not attendance. I'm talking about positions that are unfilled. And then when we have these attendance challenges, and people get sick, and it's not a criticism, or, it happens. We're already so thin that it makes it very difficult for us to keep our buildings open. So we've all talked about, what we're doing to do that. We go down, I cover recess, or I'm over there covering lunches and all of that. So I'm not sitting at my desk, and the principals aren't sitting at their desk. So all of these things, because staff here really care. And our top priority has really been, how do we keep our schools open? So, so we had a conversation about that, and what we had thought would be, the best recommendation for tonight was going to be to make mask optional right after the surge that we typically have in illness, right after this break. But we do, so then this morning when I got up, I listened to the governor's message, and I got the commissioner's email, and so I met with the unions, I met with staff, I talked to our nurses and our administration, and I let them know that, according to the new guidance that's come out, that we would be moving a little quicker than we had anticipated, though we were anticipating to move anyways, So, so I did have a conversation, had a meeting with staff and our unions and so everyone, so they're aware of that. And so tonight, what we'd be asking is for the board to amend their opening plan so that we would have optional masking begin on March the 7th. There's still some things that, I think as Steve said, there are some people that are nervous, both parents and some staff members and students, frankly, based on the students' the conversation last night. But the thing I think that we were hopeful about is that people were really great about saying what kinds of things would make them feel more comfortable. Now, we haven't had the chance, because it was our first meeting, to read through all their ideas and suggestions on all kinds of mitigation strategies and what kinds of things would, and what's most important. We learned that field trips for kids was like the #1. For the seniors, it's of course, they're thinking about prom and the end, the end of their graduations and, all those kinds of activities that are so meaningful. So, so we learned a lot, and we're going to continue to meet. We have meetings scheduled for every Wednesday, and we'll be bringing forward additional recommendations once we have a chance to look through those. I guess the other thing I would like to say is that it's really important that people support each other. Everybody is going to make choices based on what makes sense for them. There are people that still are going to wear masks and need to, because if they're immune compromised, they're still suggesting that they do so. And there should be no judgment or criticism if that's the choice that if they make that choice.
You can't have outbursts.
So and it's not eliminating masks, right? That's not what the recommendation is. It's optional. It's optional. And it's still required to wear masks on buses. I mean, that's a federal requirement. That's not something that's dictated by board policy. We have to follow the federal, the bus company has to follow the recommendations or the rules associated with public. Also, when people go into healthcare facilities, they still are required to wear masks. So it's not that masks are eliminated. It's that masks are optional, and employers and other places, for example, if we were going to go on a field trip to Museum of Science in Massachusetts, then kids are going to have to wear masks because that's the requirement there. If they change that, then they wouldn't have to. But what we do here doesn't necessarily, my point is, doesn't necessarily carry outside of our school. Also, the guidance around isolation and quarantine still remain in place. That doesn't change. So if a student or a staff member would like to come back earlier than the 10-day quarantine period, and they're eligible to do that, they still have to wear a well-fitted mask in order to come back early. So that doesn't change. So I think it's just important, to say publicly, what my understanding of the guidance based on what I reviewed today, what that means. But the recommendation would be for us to go optional masking starting on March the 7th, and that I said to staff today, anybody that's uncomfortable in any way, to let us know, and we'll work with them to try to provide them with whatever support they need. We will still continue to provide KN95 masks for people that wish to wear them. We have sizes for youngsters as well as adults. So we'll continue to support everybody in whatever ways we can to help them feel safe and comfortable in our schools moving forward. So I think all of this is enormously exciting news for everyone. That our next chapter work group is off and running, and there's great interest in it. I think that having staff and in a more positive relationship each and every day, with students and families is really important. After all, in the end, what we have is each other, right? So I'm hoping that this will be a start of a new dawn of a new era for us. And I also, another new chapter thing on my report that I wanted to share is that tonight is Kim Shelton's and Elizabeth McKinney's last board meeting with us. And they have done amazing work here in this school district. Elizabeth, for 9 years, my understanding, this is the end of your third term. And Kim has been the chair at least 2 or 3 years in her time, and I believe it's been 6.
Yep.
And some really exciting things have happened, and just as like it is in life, right? Some high moments and some really demanding and challenging moments, And certainly being a member of any school board anywhere in the United States during this pandemic has been challenging. And to suit up and show up each and every day and do the very best that you can on behalf of kids, on behalf of staff, you're to be commended. The hours that it takes to be a member of the school board is something I don't think people realize, the commitment that's made. And though perhaps we don't always hit it 100% for everybody, I know that the maximum amount of effort that Kim has and Elizabeth has been put forth to try to do right by the kids and the community. So on behalf of the students and the staff, thank you so very much for your service.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. And another thing that I want to say, and I'm not going to address anything that just happened because I might cry and I'm not doing it. Another amendment for the board. Obviously, this change came yesterday after the agenda was done, so I'm going to ask that we amend the motion and vote, and I seek a motion to amend the opening plan to make masking optional on March 7th, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion from Mr. Swanson and a second from Ms. Durant. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's approved. The next thing on the agenda was a discussion that we just had about masking, and we voted on it, so we don't need to address that any further. So we'll move to the approval of the minutes. I seek a motion to approve the February 3rd, 2022 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. McKinney and a second from Mr. Swanson to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
They're approved. The next thing is the manifest. And Gary, I think you won the manifest tonight.
I did. Took a lot of fighting, but I got it. I move we approve the payroll and manifest dated 2/24/22, totaling $1,231,624.09.
Second?
We have a motion from Mr. Swanson and a second from Mr. Durant to approve the manifest as listed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next thing is the second reading for the policy that Andrew reviewed at the last meeting. I have not received any questions about any of the policies. Susan, have you?
Have not.
I don't think Andrew has. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, I seek a motion to approve the policy changes in policy DAF, CBCD, JCA, and JEC.
Make a motion? I'll second it.
We have a motion from Ms. Durant and a second from Ms. McKinney to approve those policies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's done. The next thing is the job description. Susan, do you want to take those?
Sure. We have been busy putting together job descriptions for these 2 positions. We've talked about them here in the past, but I hadn't, gotten a formal job description written. And obviously, this is the time to be advertising, and so we need to have those in place. So I'm just bringing forward these two positions. Just as a reminder that the school counseling director is new in title, but it's not additional FTE. So we're just redeploying and kind of restructuring our guidance so that we have somebody that's overseeing guidance from pre-K through 12. You know, this is again part of our strategy for strengthening counseling and support services to families and kids, and to have continuity and connection between what we're doing at the various different developmental levels. So that's what that one is. And of course, the Director of Health Services is also related to the health and well-being of students and staff, and we've talked about the importance of having that in place. That position, though, is, and we do have a couple of applicants, so we're excited about that, is grant funded, and so we would have it in place, till 2024, and then we'd have to reevaluate at that time, and hopefully this will all be, kind of behind us, and recovery will have taken place, and we can move, forward from there. So that's what those two job descriptions are before you, and just wanted to give a little reminder about, why you're seeing them now, and remind you of the prior dialogue we'd had around those.
Any questions about those two job descriptions? We
No,
have.
I'm really pleased.
Yep. Yes, Gary.
Sorry, did you? Oh, I thought someone said something. I understand the counseling's existing FTE, but that's only been partially filled, right? Is that correct?
No,
this year?
no, we still have right now, in the grant, we have a counseling position that's being funded. It used to be funded within our budget, so we actually have 2 openings in guidance right now. We never filled the middle school because we didn't have any candidates.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So there is an open.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. Thank you.
No, I think that one's, well, I think they're both necessary and important for varying degrees, but I think, having that emphasis on the counseling department and having someone coordinate those efforts will be invaluable for everyone.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I seek a motion to approve the school counseling director and director of health services job description.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion from Ms. McKinney and a second from Mr. Swanson to approve those job descriptions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Susan, do you want to say anything about the coaches?
Yeah, isn't it funny that we're sitting here at playoffs on the winter sports, but I'm asking you to approve some of our spring coaches already. But these are all existing coaches, and we just felt that, let's get those queued up, get the contracts out, and just get a little bit ahead of the game, especially because our winter break right now is later than it normally is, and we just wanted to, probably the next board meeting I would have brought them, but because of the way it's landing here and the changeover in the board, I just thought, let's just get this business taken care of now. So they're existing coaches, and I just wanted to share with you. There'll be more coming, for the other sports. Again, with the labor shortage, it makes it challenging because our staff, is limited on who can. So we have to rely on trying to get those position filled. Okay.
I seek a motion to accept the spring coaching nominations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Swanson and a second from Mr. Ant to approve the coaching nominations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next thing on our agenda was to approve the support staff memorandum agreement that Ms. McKinney and Mr. Swanson and Susan worked with the support staff union on. So I seek a motion to approve that memorandum of agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Swanson and a second from Ms. McKinney to approve that memorandum of agreement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Anything else before we?
Yes, one more thing.
Yes.
I just want to take a moment as not only a member of the school board, but as a parent, to say thank you both to you, Kim, and to you, Elizabeth, for everything that you have done. I was trying to find something to represent how we all feel on the sacrifices, and I found this poem and I wanted to read it because this is a poem, and it was written by Ray Lingenfelter, who is an elementary principal. And it kind of spoke to me, so I wanted to share it with you. The poem is called Unity. I dreamed I stood in a studio and watched two sculptors there. The clay they used was a young child's mind, and they fashioned it with care. One was a teacher whose tools she used were books and music and art. One was a parent with a guiding hand and a gentle, loving heart. And when at last their work was done, they were proud of what they had wrought. For the things they had worked into that child's mind could never be sold or bought. And each agreed she would have failed if she had worked alone. For behind the parent stood the school, and behind the teacher stood the home. Thank you both so very much.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, thank you. All right, I seek a motion to enter non-public session under RSA 91A3, 2A, and C.
So
I make
moved.
a motion, and I second it.
We have a motion from Ms. McKinney and a second. Let me write this down for the last time. And we're going to enter non-public session at 5:56. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Mr. Rance?
Yes.
Me? Mr. Swanson? We are in at 8:56.